Hey guys, Mr. Halpin here. Today what I want to do is I just want to make a video of chunk number 4 of your study guide. Now, as a reminder, these videos are not meant to be the sole resource you use when you're studying. Instead, they're just meant to be an additional resource you use when you're studying. So still make sure you're going back, checking your PowerPoint notes, and also reading your study guides on your own. Well, guys, let's get started. So right now, the first one we got is the Rule of Augustus. Now, ultimately, the time period that this was known as the Pax Romana. Now, this was a time of peace and prosperity. So it was a really, really good time. And most importantly, it happened under the rule of Caesar Augustus. So again, it's a really, really good time known as Pax Romana. Now let's talk about what reforms he made to form this time period. So the first rule he did is he made his own professional army. Now, let's keep in mind what a professional army is. It's an army with really well-trained soldiers. Specifically, there's 150,000 soldiers, but also they're getting paid, and it's a huge change from before when they were volunteers. In addition to that, he also creates his own bodyguard of Secret Service that are meant to protect him of 9,000 men in this unit, and they were known as the Praetorian Guard, which you can see right here. In addition to that, he also began to set some natural boundaries. More specifically, we see he set them on rivers, on oceans, the Sahara, which is a desert, and the Euphrates River, which we've already talked about. We're in one of our previous chapters. That's another major river. So again, he sets the borders on these boundaries because ultimately it's a lot harder to invade countries when there's borders or natural boundaries are protecting them. In addition to that, he also created a position known as the Proconsul, which is just a governor to oversee each province. Guys, we've talked about this over and over. When an empire gets too big, it has to be divided up. And he did that. He also did two more things. More specifically, the first thing he did, or the next thing I guess he did, not first thing, the next thing that he did, is he created a legal system for the people who were not Roman citizens. And eventually, these laws applied to everyone because eventually everybody became Roman citizens in the empire. The last thing that he did is to preserve his rule. He also distributed grain to the poor. So the big thing with all of these things that he did, guys, is they made him very, very popular. Distributing grain, giving laws, establishing a professional army. They made Augustus very, very popular. And again, this was a time of peace and prosperity that he ruled in, known as Pax Romana. Now, after him, we have two very evil emperors, Claudius and Nero. I've told you to remember this. Nero did zero good for society. Claudius, I always think of a rain cloud. It sounds kind of like cloud. I think of a rain cloud. Ultimately, both killed a lot of people during that time period. Now, the next ruler that we've got, Vespasian. Vespasian, what he's majorly known for is ultimately he helped start the construction of the Colosseum. It's his major achievement. Now, the way I told you to remember this one, if you remember correctly, is you have to have a pass to go into the Colosseum. Vespasian. Then we come to a time period where there's 5 really, really good emperors that last for roughly about 100 years. Now right here, we're going to see right here, it's a united empire at its peak. It extended all the way from Britain to Mesopotamia. It's the equivalent of 3.5 million square miles, which is almost the size of the United States. So it's pretty amazing. It started the size of a city, and then the empire just kept on growing and growing and growing and growing. Now, the most important aspect of the empire's economy was agriculture or farming. It's the most important economic activity. And you can keep on reading right here, and you can see, for example, industry thrived in the cities. We had potters, weavers who produced pottery, cloth, and jewelry. These goods extended all the way throughout the Mediterranean region. And lastly, traders from all over the empire arrived in Rome's port cities. They sold luxury goods to wealthy Romans. All right? Guys, I hope this video was helpful. We'll talk to you later.